Chapter 19. Our Need for Definition.
Who am I, and what am I doing here? Is the oldest and perhaps most universal question of humankind. We all have a need to define who we are and where we fit in. My author friend Richard Exley says we have a need to belong. This powerful need for definition is rarely discussed, but it's nonetheless universal, and an ability to tap into it is often the genesis of a very compelling ad campaign. Our need for definition influences what we drive, where we live, how we furnish our homes, the clothes we wear, the clubs we join, the magazines we read, and the cola we drink. As I've said many times, effective advertising must speak to a felt need. It has become my conviction that our need for definition is perhaps the most compelling need felt by individuals in our society today. Most of our purchases involve self-expression, and we tend to buy things with which we identify. Let me give you an example. I recently mailed a promotional piece to several hundred companies in targeted industries. One of the men who responded was the chairman of Ravenswood, a California vineyard. Mr. Foster sent me his very elegant vertical business card, which ends with the statement, "No wimpy wines." My bond with Mr. Foster was immediate. Any man whose goals include a desire to avoid wimpishness in all its deviant forms is my kind of guy. I had noticed Ravenswood on the wine lists of most of the better restaurants, but I had never tried it. Care to guess which wine's my new favorite? Yep, Ravenswood. In some small way, I feel connected with Mr. Foster's Ravenswood, and even though the connection is small, it's far more than I have with any other winery. Mr. Foster was audacious enough to print "No wimpy wines" on his business cards, and it gained him a customer. Perhaps there are many other wines that are equally good, but I'll probably always be a Ravenswood man. Like me, all of humankind has this need for definition. And the most powerful brands are those that help the customer define his own identity. Do you think I'm crazy? Trust me, every customer you have is just as crazy. Get in step with the lunacy and watch your sales skyrocket.
We are more easily persuaded in general by the reasons we ourselves discover than by those which are given to us by others. Blaise Pascal.
Chapter 20. The Cocaine of Advertising.
Ask your physician how to feel good, and he'll look you squarely in the eye and say, "Eat right and exercise." Yet for every dollar spent in fitness centers, Americans spend $19 on cocaine. The reason? 2 seconds after you snort cocaine, you feel like Superman. 2 weeks of diet and exercise just makes you hungry and sore. The desire for instant gratification is harmless enough if the only thing it leads you to do is pay higher prices at a convenience store. But heaven help you if you demand instant gratification from your advertising. The business person looking for a financial quick fix will soon discover the cocaine of advertising, a 4-letter magic chant. Sale, 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 sale. Good advertising is painful at first because you don't see immediate results. The impatient business owner will usually snort a little ad cocaine and then get defensive about it. How can this be bad for me? I've never done better. But just as the junkie never stops to consider how the drug is destroying his physical health, the business owner never stops to consider how sale, sale, sale undermines his business health. The first dose of cocaine makes him feel great. So does the next one, and the next, and the next, though it takes larger and larger doses to get the same effect. Therefore, it's almost impossible to convince the addict he has a problem, even though he started with only 20% off and has now progressed to half price. Successful companies don't spend their ad dollars training their customers to wait for a sale. Do you?
Chapter 21. The World's Best Traffic Builder.
I'd like to do a traffic builder. Do you know how to do a traffic builder? I think a good traffic builder is what we need.
One traffic builder coming right up. My favorite traffic builder involves 3 actors in police uniforms. The first policeman stands in the street in front of your business and diverts all traffic into your parking lot. where the second cop waves the cars into parking spaces. The third cop stands at the front door and blows his whistle to direct people into your store. When the place is fully packed, the false policemen then yank off their uniforms and scurry in to begin selling customers. Need any other good ideas? There's a chance my traffic builder is slightly more stupid than yours, but only because mine is illegal. The traffic would be no less qualified than the crowd brought in by most other traffic building schemes, however.
Yes, I'm here because of the inflatable pink gorilla on your roof and the free hot dogs you talked about on the radio. Gosh, now that I see you're a car dealer, I suddenly have the urge to buy a brand new car.
Running an ad under the pretense that it's a good traffic builder is from the same school of thought that says there's value in getting your name out. If you're running for public office, getting your name out may be enough to get you elected. But if you want your ad to be remembered when the prospect has need of your product, you've got to have something attached to your name. If a traffic builder helps reinforce your market position or communicate your own unique selling proposition, it's much more than a mere traffic builder. It's a good ad that just happens to generate immediate traffic. Unfortunately, this kind of traffic is never predictable. An ad that creates good traffic one week may generate none the next. These are your options. You can, 1, write meaningful ads that will be remembered when the prospect has need of your product, or 2, write ads to bring in immediate traffic. If you choose option 2, I know someone who can help you. His name is Oscar Mayer. He works with a pink gorilla.
Chapter 22. Reading Between the Lines.
That's a really great toupee you're wearing. Where did you get it? I've always liked pants like those. Are they coming back in style? Are you always this funny when you're drunk? Even though the speakers didn't actually say to you, that toupee isn't fooling anyone, those pants are out of style, and you talk like a drunk, you'd probably find it hard to respond warmly to these compliments, because you would have heard more than was actually said. Let me give you another example. I'm always flattered to meet people who say to me, "I really enjoy your articles." But I've concluded from these meetings that my physical appearance must be somehow disappointing, because each of these people will invariably look me over, then ask, "Do you write them yourself?" I guess my college professor look isn't working, because people seem to see me as just another bald guy with glasses and a beard. And how did you meet your wife? Penny is gorgeous. Like me, all of America has learned to hear much more than is spoken, especially when it comes to advertising. I'm convinced it was the glut of hype advertising that taught America to listen with suspicious ears. Sale, 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 60, 70, up to 80% off, save big during Dollar Buster Happy Days. This type of advertising worked well during the days of America's naivete. But that day ended when we heard our first pitch from a multi-level marketing company or received our first letter from a timeshare resort. You have definitely won one of the following 5 prizes. 1, a Cadillac Eldorado. 2, a sport boat. 3, a $10,000 savings bond. 4, his and hers motorcycles. 5, a Rolex watch. Please call to let us know when you can pick up your prize. Bring proof of identification. To advertise effectively in today's America, we must understand our listeners' reluctance to believe the claims of advertising. We must volunteer the proof they need. Loud music, brightly colored balloons, and enthusiastic recitations of worn-out cliches will no longer convince people that they are receiving good value. Okay, there's still a few idiots out there, but the number grows smaller every day. The time has come when we must offer a product or service that is demonstrably better. It is no longer enough to simply tell bigger lies in a louder voice than the next guy. If you want your advertising to be productive, you must have a story to tell, and you must tell it persuasively. By the way, a friend of mine got that timeshare letter and took a day of vacation to travel 150 miles and pick up his prize. After subjecting him unsuccessfully to a relentless 2-hour sales pounding, his hosts tossed him a $3 inflatable raft and said, "Thanks for making the trip, sport. Here's your boat." You ask how I can be certain America is no longer naive? The timeshare people quit mailing those letters only when the letters quit working. When was the last time you took a day of vacation to go pick up a new boat, sport?
Chapter 23. Big Talk and Little Acorns.
Remember the story of Chicken Little? Sitting under an oak, he's beaned by a falling acorn and spends the rest of the afternoon running from one barnyard animal to another, screaming, "The sky is falling! The sky is falling!" In the original story, Chicken Little simply makes a laughable mistake. But let's suppose Chicken Little's friends repeatedly warn him about falling acorns. They tell him it's the peak season for acorns and gravity. But Chicken Little insists on sitting under the tree anyway, and the acorn descends just as predicted. Now Chicken Little's Paul Revere act becomes a little more irritating, doesn't it? I've consulted a dozen Chicken Littles. They always say they want to experience the kind of advertising that gets results. But they're never prepared for the actual experience. Though I warned them that powerful advertising will generate negative fallout from many sources, they answer, "Bring it on," then backpedal vigorously as soon as a few people say, "I hate your ads." Do you have the courage of your convictions? Are you ready to defend what you say? Or will you pound your chest like King Kong, then run like Peter Cottontail at the first sign of adversity? Some of my best and most compelling ads never made the airwaves. These favorite campaigns were shot down by the spouse, the partner, the next-door neighbor, or some other well-meaning friend of the client, and the word, statement, or phrase that had to be eliminated was usually the most powerful line in the ad. The result of this editing is emasculated advertising. My success as an advertising consultant is owed to those clients who hear the sound of bombs and warfare all around them and shout, "Damn the torpedoes! Full speed ahead!" There is no plan so brilliant that it cannot be made utterly ineffective through compromise. Yes, I can soften the ad. I can soften it so that it offends no one, says nothing, and sounds just like every other ad on the air. Please don't hold me responsible when the ad doesn't work. On second thought, perhaps the right thing for you to do is get out the Yellow Pages and look under A for advertising agencies. Let me know how this turns out. Despite what you're thinking, my goal in this chapter was not to vent my frustration, but to get you to examine the depth of your own convictions. What do you stand for? Are you willing to stand firm? Your answers to these two questions will determine the power and success of your advertising.
Courage is a special kind of knowledge, the knowledge of how to fear what ought to be feared, and how not to fear what ought not to be feared. David Ben-Gurion.